living life is stage. Hey, hey, 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 love yourself first, explicitly. You overtook yourself to move with that energy. Empower your self-esteem. Self-love is king. That's the only way to win. That's how you empower your dreams. Living life is stage. Hey, hey, living life is stage. Hey, hey, living life is stage. Hey, hey, living life is stage. Hey, hey.
Hey y'all, how's it going? Happy Thirsty Thursday. And I see a message in here from Trish the Natural from 10:38 this morning, saying it showed me coming live at 12 a.m. I noticed that at a time when I really couldn't do anything about it. I don't know why it had me coming live at 12 a.m. But no, y'all, it's always going to be 7 o'clock Central around about, because I see now it is 7:08. But today has been a very productive day and I'm just now getting here. But thank you all so much for tuning in. You know, I appreciate each and every one of you. And of course, for those of you who are new to the channel, I'm your girl, Stae Hall. I am a certified emotional intelligence and soft skills coach, as well as a life coach, L.Y.F.E, Love Yourself First Explicitly, published author, transformational speaker, mom, wife, all the things. That's what I do. And my passion is to pour into and empower people to help them live their best lives at their highest self. And so that is hopefully what we're going to do a little bit of today. I had the awesome pleasure of speaking at the City of Fort Worth's Women's Month Women's Symposium today. And I had the pleasure of speaking on a topic that is near and dear to my heart, which is imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome, unfortunately, is something that I talk about several times a week with different ones of my life coaching clients, and how we can overcome imposter syndrome and quiet that voice of self-doubt, that negative self-talk, that stinking thinking that unfortunately sometimes holds us back from living our best life and achieving all of our goals. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with imposter syndrome, hopefully that's a good thing, because maybe it's not something that you suffer from. But for those of you who are, today we're going to take a deep dive into how we can overcome that and really start believing in ourselves and fulfilling our dreams and giving ourselves credit and just living that life that we want to live unapologetically, and just having the confidence to know that we are enough. And so what we're going to do today is just take a deep dive. Hopefully this is a transformational episode for a lot of you, to help you be able to see yourself in the same light that everyone else sees yourself, and just helps you to give yourself grace, because with imposter syndrome, oftentimes we're able to see the greatness in everyone else. Hey, Cheryl, thank you so much for tuning in. We're able to see the greatness in everyone else, but unfortunately, we don't see the greatness in ourselves. So those are the kind of things that we're going to talk about today. And y'all see me looking over to the side because I am using my slides from my talk today with the women of Fort Worth. And it was so great. I had about 50 to 60 people in the room today. We were at the Botanic Gardens. I was able to present in the Azalea Room, and it was an awesome group. Y'all know I love when people talk back to me. So speaking of that, let me go ahead and put the link in the chat. So if anyone is interested in joining me up here and making this a panel discussion, y'all know I am with that. So you just have to click the link and you will be able to join and just give me your insights, because I know that I'm not the only one who has ideas and insights on things. So, hey, Stephanie, thank you so much for tuning in. But there is the link. However, if you are on Facebook or watching on any other platform besides YouTube, you can't join the chat. So if you want to, not the chat, but you can't join me up here on the screen. So if you do want to join me up on the screen and you're on Facebook or any other platform, then just jump on over to YouTube. All you have to do is go to YouTube and put the @ and Stae Hall. And I'll go ahead and type that in the chat so everyone can see it. Just type in @Stae Hall on YouTube and you can go ahead and join me. I hope y'all can see it on Facebook. If you can't, let me go ahead and type it in here on Facebook because I want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to chit and chat with us if they want to. So how I'm going to start today is giving the definition of imposter syndrome, the technical definition for it. So imposter syndrome refers to a psychological phenomenon where individuals doubt their abilities and accomplishments, feeling like frauds despite evidence of their success. They often attribute their achievements to luck or external factors rather than their own skills and efforts. People experiencing imposter syndrome often have a persistent fear of being exposed as incompetent, leading to anxiety, self-doubt, and reluctant to acknowledge their achievements. This syndrome can impact various aspects of life, including work, relationships, and personal development. So pretty much when you have imposter syndrome, even though you can be doing great, having a lot of success, having a lot of achievements, you still don't believe it's because of your own greatness and your own talents. You feel like it's just luck, it's happenstance, and you still feel like you can't compare to other people or you're not as good as other people. People who suffer with imposter syndrome have a lot of self-doubt. They suffer from perfectionism. And so they overthink a lot of things and feel like if things aren't just so, then they're not good enough. They just don't feel like they are worthy of certain accomplishments. They don't feel like they're worthy of maybe promotions on a job. It's hard for them to accept compliments. People with imposter syndrome are those people where you say, oh my goodness, that is such a pretty dress. And they say, oh, this old thing, I got it on sale at Target for $7, instead of simply just saying thank you. It's almost as if they feel like they have to make an excuse for looking good or having on a pretty dress. They can't just say thank you. And believe it or not, it is good enough and definitely acceptable when you get a compliment to simply say, thank you. You don't necessarily have to give someone a compliment back. I know there's a lot of people who don't feel comfortable accepting compliments without giving someone a compliment back. And sometimes that can even seem disingenuous because it's almost robotic. So someone says, oh, you sure do have on a pretty dress. And your automatic response is to say, oh, thanks, you do too. And they're looking like, I don't even have on a dress. But it's just this robotic response because you feel like you have to return the compliment. It is more than okay. Hey, Lisa, how are you? Thank you so much for tuning in. It is more than okay to just say thank you. But when you suffer from imposter syndrome, you don't even feel like you deserve the compliment, let alone just accepting it. So you feel like you have to say something back. Or if someone says, oh, you did such a great job on this, you'll say, oh, it wasn't a big deal. It didn't take a lot of effort. I just threw something together, knowing that you worked your butt off to do it. But because you don't feel worthy of the praise and worthy of the compliment, you tend to just dismiss it and say something else to kind of cover it up because you don't feel good enough. People with imposter syndrome tend to use the words little or just a lot. Like they'll say something like, well, I'm just a secretary, or I'm just a teacher, or I'm just a stay-at-home mom. Or they'll say, I'm busy working on my little business, or, I just have a little project that I'm working on, because again, they don't feel worthy to speak in the fullness of what they're doing. No matter what you're doing, it's not little and it's not just. You are the secretary. You are the stay-at-mom home. You are the project director. Whatever it is that you're doing, you need to be able to own that in confidence and not feel bad for being excellent at what you do. But people with imposter syndrome, it's just hard for them to take that praise. It's hard for them to take that credit. And so they're always downplaying things. Yet they can see it in other people. People with imposter syndrome seem to praise other people all the time, always the ones giving that pat on the back, always telling other people how great they are and telling them how, oh, I wish I could be like you. The people who say things like, oh, I want to be like you when I grow up. It's like, you're already great. You don't need to be like me, but it's that imposter syndrome. And people with imposter syndrome also suffer with what our main focus is with Stae Hall, living your life, L-Y-F-E. Love yourself first explicitly. But people with imposter syndrome, they find it hard to put themselves first. They feel like loving themselves and putting themselves first and practicing self-care is selfish. They always feel like they have to put themselves on the back burner and do everything for everybody else. And so what I'm here to help you with today is to stop all that nonsense. Give yourself all the credit in the world. Walk in your excellence. Take those compliments. Be proud, be bold, and stop the negative talk and those voices of self-doubt. Oh, Dolores, I'm glad that you needed it. And girl, there was a time when I needed it too, but I'm telling you, it is so exhilarating and so much freedom when you just feel comfortable to walk in your greatness and your excellence. And like I tell people, I am not great at everything, but the things I am great about, the first person you're going to hear it from is me. I have learned to be able to toot my own horn unapologetically because, like my grandmother used to say, it's a sad dog that won't wag its own tail. And so I am going to be my biggest cheerleader, my biggest advocate, because guess what? There's no guarantee anybody else will do it for me. So those are the kind of things that we're going to talk about. Hey, Joe, how are you? Thank you so much for tuning in. Lisa, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. And so another thing that imposter syndrome can cause you to do is have fears of failure. When you have imposter syndrome, you have this mindset that everything you do has to be perfect. And so you over scrutinize everything and you work yourself to death trying to be perfect when in fact, there is no such thing as perfection. The mere fact that we're human keeps us from being perfect. And so what we're actually doing as we continue to overthink and redo and overanalyze, we're wasting time, but we're so afraid of failure that we'll go to any lengths to try to be perfect. Hey, Amanda, good to see you, boo. Thank you so much for tuning in. When that perfection doesn't exist. And the thing is, failure is inevitable. However, failure is also necessary. If you have any desire to grow, if you have any desire to expand, to reach new levels of success, guess what? There's going to have to be some failure, because it's in the failures where we learn the lessons of what not to do, when we learn the lessons of what it is that we really want to do. Sometimes we're going after something that we don't know a lot about, which is great. And we think it's something that we want to do. And it's not until we're in the thick of it and maybe we experience some failure where we realize that's not even what I wanted to do. So it's going to take some failure. It's going to take some swings and misses to learn and to grow and to realize what your real passion and purpose truly is. And I love when Denzel Washington said one time when he was speaking, it is fine to fail as long as you fail forward, meaning use that failure as something to catapult you to the next level. Use that failure as a growing experience. Use that failure as something that's going to push you to your next. Use that failure as a stepping stone, as a learning lesson, as a part of your journey. Don't let the failure just keep you stagnant and make you just stay where you are in what we call our comfort zone, which really, there's no such thing as a comfort zone, because no matter where you are and how comfortable you may feel, if you have any desire to do something else, then that means you're not comfortable. There's a difference between comfort and complacency. And sometimes we'll let our fear of failure allow us to be complacent. And complacent doesn't necessarily mean you're comfortable, it means that you settle. Let's see. To be excellent, we strive for perfection. And that's what we tend to do, Joe. But the thing is, the fact that perfection does not necessarily exist, that's where we sometimes get stuck because we're trying to reach an unobtainable goal. All we can do with anything is do the best that we can and continue to do that. And that in and of itself, when you're giving something your all, when you're truly sold out to it, when you're passionate about it, when you're doing all the things to get better and grow, that in and of itself is excellence. Let's see. I want to make sure I'm saying hi to everyone. Hey, Elvin, thank you so much for tuning in, saying hello to everyone. I don't think Trish is here, Elvin. She may put that comment up there 10 something this morning. She was looking for me because it said that I was going to be on at midnight, and I don't know how it did that. So I'm going to have to fix that. Hey, Chrissy, I see you tuned in. Hey, Petra, thank you so much. But yeah, it's that search for excellence that tends to drive us crazy, or that search rather for perfection that tends to drive us crazy when you're already doing your best. You're already striving to hit the goal. You're already giving it your all. And that in and of itself is excellence. Excellence does not equate to perfection because there is no such thing as perfection. Hey, girl. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah, it had me on there. I don't know what's up with that. Dolores said, I totally understand. It has been easier to help people grow their vision and dreams than progressing my own. Yes. Again, because we can see it in other people, right? And sometimes for those of us who are those who pour into people and those of us who strive to help other people, we usually do not take our own advice, right? We can tell someone else that they need to believe in themselves. We can tell other people how capable they are and what we see in them. We can give them all the right things. But then when it comes to us, we don't do the same thing. We can't see it in ourselves. And then if we do happen to make a mistake or we do happen to have a failure, then we also don't show ourselves the same grace and forgiveness that we show other people. We tend to have all the grace and all the forgiveness for everybody in the world except for us, because in some way, even though we're struggling, we have this perfectionist mindset, which makes us believe that we're not supposed to make any mistakes, right? We're supposed to get it right every time. And so when we make a mistake, when we fail, we're kicking ourselves and beating ourselves up. But when somebody else makes a mistake, we're picking them up, dusting them off, telling them they can do it, but we can't take our own advice. And so those are the kind of things that we need to recognize in ourselves in order to overcome this imposter syndrome, in order for us to become our biggest advocates, our biggest cheerleaders. And today, we are definitely going to come up with some strategies and techniques and tips to help y'all overcome that. So I hope that I'm helping someone. I hope y'all got y'all pencils and paper. I hope that you're taking some notes because we are going to do some work today. Yes, Lisa, and I'm speaking to myself as well. This is something that I don't struggle with anymore, but every once in a while, those thoughts of doubt get in. But I've done the work, and it was a long time coming because I was the biggest imposter syndrome sufferer in the world. I always felt I could do better. Every time I left a project, left the stage, left an engagement, whatever it was, the first thing that ran in my mind is what went wrong. I never was able to see what good I did. And it didn't matter how many people were waiting to talk to me afterwards, how many people were wanting to work with me. I still always felt like I missed the mark. But I tell you, when you're able to give your own self that pat on the back and walk away and know and drop that mic that you did a good job, oh my gosh, it is so liberating. Let's see. Now, this is saying Facebook user. Y'all know how it does. We are never good at taking our own advice. No, it takes a long time. Now, I can do it now. I can do it now. But it took me a long time, but I had to do the work. And so with imposter syndrome, it affects how you see yourself. and you don't see yourself the same way other people see you. You always see yourself as less than. You always see yourself as missing the mark, which also shows up in how you interact with other people. It affects your personal relationships. It affects your business relationships. It affects how much you're willing to go after, what you're willing to go after. Sometimes it keeps us complacent in the same place, having desires to do more, but just being paralyzed by fear because we're afraid of the rejection, because that's what we're expecting. We already go into situations feeling like we're not going to make the mark. So either we go into it and we let our negative attitude keep us from the achievement, or we just shy away and don't go for it at all. And it also distorts how we show up. And so it's hard for other people to have confidence in you when you don't have confidence in yourself. And so one thing that I learned when I was on my journey to self-love, on my journey to overcoming imposter syndrome, is the one thing that we have to do, which may sound so crazy, but is we have to get to know who we are and become comfortable with that person in the mirror. We have to learn how to look into our own eyes and speak life into ourselves. We have to learn how to encourage ourselves. We have to learn how to talk kind to ourselves. We have to learn how to change that dialogue in our minds. And when I say that, I'm not talking about something figuratively. I'm saying literally. And so I know people say, oh, if you talk to yourself, you crazy. Well, let me tell you, I talk to myself and I answer back. But one thing that I want y'all to practice, and it may sound easy, but it can be quite difficult, especially if you're someone who struggles with imposter syndrome and self-love and self-care, is just to take 1 minute to just stare at yourself in the mirror and give yourself direct eye contact, saying absolutely nothing. And I know most of us, especially women, we're in the mirror every day. But when we're in the mirror, what are we doing? We're trying to enhance. We're trying to beautify. We're fixing our hair. We're putting on our makeup. We're doing our skincare. And so even though there's nothing wrong with those things, the message subliminally that we're sending each other is that we need enhancement, right? That we're not good enough, that our hair is only good if we fix it a certain way. And we only, look good if we're doing the skincare, if we're putting on our makeup. So what I challenge you to do is to look in that mirror with a bare face, hair tied back, hair in a ponytail, no thrills, none of that. And just stare at yourself in the mirror for a minute every day. And just allow yourself to fall in love with that vision in the mirror. And again, don't say a word. And I've done this exercise before at a women's conference, and it literally within the first 15 seconds brought a lot of people to tears, because you don't realize how you never do that. When you're looking at yourself, most of the time, you're looking for the flaws. You're looking to enhance. You're looking at yourself on just this very surface level. You're looking at yourself in a way to get yourself together where you feel like other people will accept you. But just to look at you barefaced and really see the beauty in yourself is sometimes hard for a lot of people. And you imagine the tension and the stress that sometimes happens if you have to look someone else in the eye for any extended period of time. It's even more intense when you have to do that with yourself. And so my challenge for you is, for the rest of this week, just try to do that at least once a day. Just look at yourself in the mirror, look yourself eye to eye without saying a word for at least 60 seconds. Once you kind of get that down and you're comfortable with that, because I'm telling you, for most people, that's a little bit uncomfortable. But once you get comfortable with that, I want you to then next week take it a step further. And this part is really probably going to sound bizarre, but then I want you to start talking to yourself as you look at yourself in the mirror. And I want you to start talking kind to yourself. And I am a big proponent of fake it till you make it, because even if you don't believe what you're saying right now, even if it's uncomfortable for you to say it right now, I want you to say things to yourself like, you're beautiful. You are enough. You are deserving. You are worthy. You can accomplish anything that you set your mind to. You will achieve greatness. You deserve every good thing that you have. And tell yourself that every single day as you look yourself in the face in that mirror, look yourself in the eyes. And even if you don't believe it the first time you do it, the second time you do it, trust me, those words are going to start to resonate with you and you're going to start to believe it. But you have to be consistent, because guess what? Most of us who have had issues or have issues with doubt, it's because of something someone else said. And it was easy for us to believe their words, because guess what? Words are powerful and words can stay with us for a long time. And words can cause trauma and words can cause greatness. But it's those trauma words that tend to stick with us and we tend to believe them. But you need to trust yourself enough to believe your own words, because if you have lived a life of self-doubt based on what somebody else said, then why can't you turn it all around based on what you say? Because truth be told, your opinion is the only one that really counts. Let's see, even though I've heard people say this, it's the first time I finally understand why I should do it. Well, I'm glad. That makes me feel so good. It makes me feel so good. And it truly does work. I know a lot of people talk about writing down their affirmations and reading their affirmations and things like that, which I love that as well. But there's just nothing that beats looking yourself in the mirror and talking to yourself. And I'm telling you, if you're having a bad day, a bad moment, if you're just feeling down and you don't have a mirror handy, y'all, I done picked up my cell phone and turned it on that selfie mode as long as I can see myself, because there still are times when those thoughts creep in. And the best way to overcome the thoughts of self-doubt and things like that are to, as soon as you feel those thoughts creeping in, make a decision to think something else. Do it immediately, nip it in the bud. And I have had coaching clients tell me, well, I can't control my mind. And I'm like, well, if you can't control your mind, I don't know who's controlling it. So maybe you need somebody different than me. But again, that's a cop-out, because it's just what you're used to. You can control your mind. Of course, there are those thoughts that just pop up. But as soon as they pop up, you're the only one who can nip it in the bud. And you tell yourself, nope, that's not how we're thinking today. And again, I don't care how it looks, how it feels, say it out loud to yourself, because it works. Hey, how are you doing, Geeky Girls Journal? Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. But you have to talk to yourself that way, because you have to convince yourself of everything you're saying. And sometimes just writing it down doesn't work. So let's see. So one thing too is we have to be able to identify when those thoughts of doubt seem to hit us most often. Is it when we're with our peers? Is it when we're at work? Is it when we're having conversations with our spouse, other family members? And try to identify exactly what places in our life and what relationships make us feel the most doubt. And that is called identifying your triggers. And the reason why that's important is because you want to be geared up and you want to have on your armor and you want to be ready. So you might need a little extra push before you get into certain environments, or maybe there's certain environments and people and places that you need to avoid while you're on this journey, or altogether. If there's a certain group of people or a certain person or a certain place or even your job that keeps you in this self-doubt mode and you don't feel supported, maybe it's time to make some changes. One mistake that we make a lot of times is staying with people, organizations, jobs, relationships, or whatever, way past their expiration date, right? We continue to keep pushing on, even though it's no longer serving us, even though it doesn't make us feel good, even though it's not bringing any joy to our life. We stay. Why? Just because that's all what we've always done. Just because I've been on this job for this long. Just because I've had a relationship with this person for so long. Just because this person is related to me. Just because I've gone to this church forever. Whatever it is, we will allow ourselves to stay with people, places, organization, jobs, whatever, way past their expiration date, and all they're doing is feeding into our imposter syndrome and the negative thinking, when in fact we deserve and should only allow access to our lives and surround us with people who pour into us. Let me see. I want to say hi. Hey, Tim, thank you. And yes, please show that love and support. I appreciate you every time for coming in and making that reminder, because I too can sometimes be guilty of not hitting that like button, especially with long form content. You get in there and you start engaging and you forget. So I appreciate you, Tim, for always reminding people to do that, because it does make a difference in the algorithm. Let's see. And I think I got everybody. Everybody else is just saying hello. So I appreciate you. But yeah, you can't be afraid to move around. Like I said, that comfort zone can be tricky sometimes, because it keeps you in a place where, yeah, you feel like you're comfortable, but who wants to be comfortable in negativity? Who wants to be comfortable in chaos? But because of the imposter syndrome, we feel like that's all we deserve, or we just feel like that's normal. Like I had someone, was it today or yesterday? Because I had two speaking engagements, one today, one yesterday, both with the city. But I think it was yesterday, a young lady shared that when she first got out of college, she took a job in the profession that she thought she wanted to be in, and she was completely miserable. And she decided that she wanted to change and do something else. And so she got another job and she was miserable again. And she just couldn't understand. She was like, why am I feeling like this? Like, I thought I was really going to like this. But she started realizing that maybe it just wasn't the profession for her. However, it was very difficult for her to make that choice to pivot and do something brand new, because also in the back of her mind, she said all she had ever witnessed her whole life was people hating work. She was like, my dad hated his job. He hated to go to work. My grandfather hated his job and hated to go to work. All I ever heard was people say how much they hated their jobs. And so she said, I thought that rather than taking another shot, doing something different, maybe I should just stay where I was. The pay was good and whatever. And maybe that's what life is about. You just hate your job. Well, what ended up happening, being a blessing in disguise, she ended up being laid off from her job and decided at that point she was going to try something different, and ended up enjoying it. She loves the job that she's in right now. But again, sometimes some of our thought patterns and the negative thinking are because we were raised with people who had the same thought patterns. And a lot of times it's no one's fault. They just don't know any different. But that is what she had in her head. People just hate their job. So why am I going to try to do something different? But it wasn't until she made that choice and was almost forced into the choice, which that's something else that can happen, where you're forced to do something different. And even though it might seem scary, it is indeed the best thing for you. That's another thing that can come along with failure. I tell people all the time, no need to be afraid of failure. Some of my biggest failures, times when I have fallen flat on my face, times when I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I did that. Why did I make that decision? It ended up pushing me into my next, which was even greater than anything I could have even imagined from the beginning. And so again, failures are lessons. Failures are stepping stones. You can't be afraid of them, because you never know what's next. Even the closed doors to opportunities, you never know. Just because one door closes doesn't mean another one may not open. And that door that closed from you could have just been a huge blessing. And so that's why you have to get outside of your head and just continue to try, because you don't know what's coming next. And if you don't try and if you don't go for it, you never will. Hey, Ruby, how are you? Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you, each and every one of you. And I want to go ahead, and I'm looking over here. Hey, Shantae, thank you for tuning in. I'm trying to look at all the devices, but I also want to let y'all know, once again, if anyone has anything to add, anything to share, if you have a question for me, you don't want to put it in the chat, the link is pinned to the top, and you can feel free to come join the panel. Y'all know I love to chit and chat, so do not hesitate to click that link and join me up here so that we can have a conversation. I mean, I love seeing y'all comments over here and responding, but having a virtual face-to-face conversation, there's nothing like that as well. And so, one of the other things we talked about, writing down the affirmations. Writing down affirmations are good. I write down my affirmations. I'm good with leaving the sticky notes and all the things like that. But with the affirmations, I also think that it is very important to write down the things that you're grateful for, acknowledging that things aren't really that bad or things could be worse. And being grateful, it doesn't always have to be something huge. Like sometimes it's a thing just to be grateful for getting up out of the bed in the morning. And that's like whether you are sick, whether it's just depression, whether you're just fatigued, sometimes just getting up out of the bed is a chore in and of itself. So on the days that you felt like that and you pushed through and did it anyway, be grateful for that. Being grateful just to have another day to be grateful for that. And acknowledging the fact that you do have so many things in your life to be grateful for can oftentimes put us in a different mindset and alleviate some of that self-doubt. And so I think that it's very important to every single day, allow some time to write down at least 5 things that you're grateful for. And whether you do that first thing in the morning or you do it before you go to bed, it's just important to do that, especially on the days that seem crappy. There's still something that you could be grateful for. And every time you acknowledge that, it just kind of gives you a boost in the positive direction. Hey, Nikki, how are you? Oh, thank you so much, girl. I'm hot. That's what it is. But I like it. I'll take the glow. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Yeah, that attitude of gratitude, it goes a long way. And so while we're talking about getting up out of the bed and things to do first thing in the morning, another thing that is really important to overcome the imposter syndrome is setting your intention for the day. So as y'all know, I have or some of you may not know, I need to quit assuming that everybody is here all the time and knows all the things. I'm trying to get better with that. But I have a Facebook group that is called 15 to Life, Your Daily Sentence to Self-Care. And I truly believe that we need to take at least 15 minutes every single day for some sort of self-care, whatever that looks like for you. And my belief is that it is just great to do that first thing in the morning, right? The first thing in the morning, take that 15 minutes to just be alone with you and your thoughts. Like before you ever look at your cell phone, because how many of us know sometimes all it takes is a look at the cell phone first thing in the morning, and we can let that ruin our whole day because you never know what's going to be over there. Hey, Jocelyn. Oh, hey, Dr. Wallace Hall. I see you over there in the bushes on Facebook. But yeah, and so sometimes that first look in the morning, turning on the news, I'm sure a lot of us turn on the Today Show, turn on CNN first thing in the morning, which is absolutely the wrong thing to do when you're trying to set your intention for a positive day. What I choose to do first thing in the morning, first of all, I'm going to thank the Lord above for just giving me the ability to open my eyes and take a breath in the morning. And then before my feet even hit the floor, I'm starting the positive self-talk because I don't know what's going to greet me when I let my feet hit that floor. And so before I even get up, I'm already telling myself that today is going to be a wonderful day. I'm already telling myself that whatever I am going to be faced with today, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent, I am capable of handling whatever it is. I already have whatever I need within me to be able to deal with any challenges that this day may bring. I'm already telling myself that I am confident, I am beautiful, I am worthy. I'm already saying these things to myself as soon as I wake up in the morning because there just may be something waiting for me as soon as I put my feet on the floor that may challenge those things. But if I already have my mindset program, then that means it's going to be that much easier for me to deal with it. I'm not saying that the positive self-talk and the affirmations and the manifestations and the meditation is going to keep bad things from happening. It's going to keep people from ticking you off. It's going to keep people from saying crazy stuff or for opportunities not coming through. But what it's going to do is better equip you to be able to handle it. Because if you start off on a high note, and this is something that my husband talks about a lot. You start off on a high note, you're already up here. See, y'all can't even see how high that is. You're already up here. So that means if something bad happens, if you get some bad news, if somebody says something, you might come down a little bit, but you're not going to come all the way down here. But if you start off down here and something bad happens, then you have nowhere else to go but even lower. And so it's my intention every morning to start all the way up here. And hopefully I'll be able to keep going higher or at least stay where I am. But worst case scenario, if it's not the day that I hope for and pray for and wish for, at least it's not going to take me all the way down. And so that's why I feel like it's so important, because life be lifing and days happen and things happen. And now there's just so much going on and people have so much access. We have to be in the right mindset from the moment we wake up. Hey, how are you doing, Kenneth? Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you so much. Let's see. Nikki said, put your feet on the floor and make the devil mad. Absolutely. Yes. Step on the devil's head. I remember that's a song they used to sing when my kids were in daycare, stomp the devil out or something like that. But absolutely. And so you want to give yourself the best possible opportunity to have a great day. And it has to start with us. Y'all have heard me say it a million times. We can't wait for anybody else to make us happy. We can't wait for anybody else to bring us joy. We have to be able to do that for ourselves, because there's no guarantee anybody else is going to show up and be to the rescue. And so we have to have our self-talk, because there may not be anybody else there to tell us. Hey, Deborah, how are you? So good to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And so once again, I'm going to put it out there as other people are joining. And if anybody has anything to add, if anybody wants to join the chat, y'all know y'all are more than welcome. I'm here for the conversation. I love talking to y'all in the comments, but like I said, feel free to come pop up in one of these squares and we can chat about it some more. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a journey, because like for me, I didn't even realize that I suffered with imposter syndrome or low self-esteem or low confidence. Like I just thought however I felt was normal. Like I kind of was under the impression that if you think too highly of yourself, or if you're giving yourself credit, or if you take compliments with ease and don't, like you're arrogant, which that's not the case at all. But forever, that's what I felt like. You're supposed to put yourself down. People don't like people who speak too highly of themselves. People look at you funny that way, and you should let other people tell you how great you are. And so that's what I believed for a long time. But the thing is, again, if that's what you're waiting on, it may never happen. And if you don't believe it yourself, the chances of other people believing it, especially for any long term, hey, can't stop. And see, I was going to say, can't stop, won't stop. How are you doing? Thank you so much for tuning in. I definitely appreciate you being here. But yeah, I mean, we have to be able to do that. I know I shared with y'all before how, with my singing, people would come to me and be like, oh, I heard you sing. Can you really sing? And I'd be like, oh, well, I'm okay. But I knew in my head that I really could, but I was literally like afraid to say it. And why? Because you're wondering, oh, what are they going to think of me if I say, yeah, I can? Or, people were like, yeah, I heard you were really good at this. Are you good at this? And it's like, oh yeah, I'm okay. And so if you're just saying you're okay, then they're like, all right, then, well, I guess you just okay. And so it took me a long time, but now, y'all, now singing is singing. That's more of a hobby now. I am a great singer, but that's just not my passion. But you let somebody ask me, am I a good transformational speaker? Am I a good life coach? Am I good? First of all, I'm going to correct them. Oh no, I'm not good. I'm great. I'm actually excellent. I'm phenomenal. I'm the best you're going to see. You need me on your team. You need me at your event. And that's what I do now. But people love confident people. So many people will say to me, oh my gosh, I love your confidence. And I'm like, yeah, because I don't doubt me. Now, I can't say that there's not anybody just as good as me and that if you don't have me, it's not going to be, but I know you ain't going to mess with me. I know that if you bring me on board, you're going to get what you need. You're going to get what you're asking for. Why? Because I believe in myself and I operate in excellence. I do my work. I have perfected my craft to the best of my ability, and I truly believe that I can deliver. Why am I going to say that I'm not good? Why am I going to say that I'm just okay? What is the purpose in doing all this and putting in all the work if I'm just going to be okay? I'm not all right with mediocrity. So that's not what I'm going to give. Now, I'm also on the flip side of that. If you're looking for somebody to do something that's outside of my wheelhouse, I always also have the confidence to say, I'm not the one for you. That's not my ministry. That's not what I do. I'm not really good at that. And so all of that comes with confidence. Someone was saying in the training class yesterday, let me see, I saw something from, yes, you have to believe in yourself. Absolutely. You have to believe in yourself. And that's what helps other people believe in you as well. I'm not perfect, but I'm perfectly me. Absolutely. And like I said, Wallace, did you really say word? My husband get on my nerves, y'all. What did Miss Lisa say? Yeah, I'm telling you, what I'm going to do is speak highly of me, but only when I need to. I'm not going to oversell it. I ain't going to tell y'all I'm capable of anything that I'm not, but I am going to speak highly of myself. But hey, Lacey J, how are you? Thank you so much for tuning in. Always love to see your name pop up. And also for the content creators in the house, be sure to drop your link, share your link so that other people can follow and subscribe. I know Lacey J and Lachey will be going live tomorrow. If you're going live later on today, if you're going live tomorrow, also feel free to drop those times and your links and everything. Y'all know I don't fool with Nightbot. I don't even have to say that. Y'all already know. So copy, paste, do whatever you got to do. Don't encourage him, Nikki. He crazy. He's crazy. But what was I even talking about? See, I be getting all, I'm a woman of a certain age. But the thing is, you have to know your capabilities. And the only way to do that is to talk kind to yourself, talk kind of yourself. Don't ever feel like you need to put yourself down in order to make other people feel better. I have other talks, with people when we talk about soft skills where it kind of goes hand in hand. You should never feel like you have to put other people down in order to make yourself feel better either. And that's why when I do speak highly of myself and I speak up and I let people know what I'm excellent at and I let people know my value and what I can bring to the table, I also don't have a problem giving other people credit as well. There are people who do just as great a job as I do. I have mentors, I have coaches, people I look up to. But the thing is, I just have enough confidence in myself where I feel like I can stand in the ring with anyone. And that makes me look confident to other people. And then when I can also deliver on that, it's a win-win. But another thing, which now I remember what I was going to say, is in either today or yesterday's training sessions with the city, I had a lady who said that she suffers with low self-esteem, low confidence, just not sure of herself. And she said, but other people always seem to think that she's very confident. And the reason why people tell her that she's confident, because they're like, whenever we are in these sessions or meetings or whatever, you always ask questions. And so in her mind, the fact that she always had questions, she felt like it was because of her lack of confidence, because she's like, yeah, I'm always needing a clearer understanding. It makes me feel like I'm not as smart as other people. And so, other people don't have questions, but I always have questions. But then people come and tell me that I'm so confident. And I'm like, girl, asking questions is definitely a sign of confidence. And she's like, what? That doesn't make sense. It always makes me feel like, oh, everybody else in the room understood or everybody else in the room gets it, not me. And I'm like, no, most of the time, everybody else in the room has the same question, but only the confident people are bold and courageous enough to ask. And she's like, really? And I'm like, yes. I said, you know why? Because people are afraid of looking stupid. They feel like if I ask this question, and you know, we've all heard it a million times, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Hey, Jamia, how are you? There's no such thing as a stupid question, but people still are afraid to ask questions. And so when somebody else is confident enough to ask the question, people are looking like, dang, they asked that. And she was like, I never looked at it that way. And that whole thing, as far as being smarter or not as smart as, is a load of bull as well, because there are people who have high IQs, tons of degrees, and I think I've said this to you before, who I wouldn't ask a question about nothing. And there are other people with barely any education that I would trust with my life. My grandmother, my mom, who impacted my life the most, who I think about every day, who imparted words in me that I will never forget, poured into me, and who I attribute so much of who I ended up becoming to her, and the words that she spoke to me, had no type of formal education. But I truly believe to be one of the smartest and most courageous women ever. And she saw something in me way back then that I couldn't even see myself. But as time went on and I did the work, so many things that she said to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, she told me this was going to happen. She told me I was going to feel like this one day. She told me this was going to turn around one day. And that didn't take any education. Now, I'm not taking anything away from anybody who has an education, but I'm just saying that's not the only way to measure someone's worth. It's not the only way to measure your worth or to measure how you match up to other people. Don't ever walk into a room and let people's titles and the letters behind their name or letters in front of their name make you feel inadequate just because you don't match up. I mean, who can have a shorter name than Stae Hall? But I'm here telling y'all, I'm very confident in what I do. I am very confident in myself and what I bring to the table. And I don't need any letters, education. I don't even talk about education in my training a whole lot. The only time that stuff comes up is when I'm going after something that requires that. That's on a needs to know basis, because that's not who makes me who I am. Who I am is what caused me to do certain things, to open certain doors. But that is not what makes me who I am. Does that make sense? Let me get back in these comments. I saw some movement. Okay, I think everybody's just saying, hey, okay. Life experience is a great teacher. Absolutely. Absolutely. And your own life experience, watching other people's life experience. Because one thing about me, I'm not somebody who has to make my own mistakes. I am an observer of other people. I have several mentors. Some mentors I have a personal relationship with. Other mentors, they don't even know that they're my mentor because I'm watching them from afar. But I watch people and I see how they move, and I see mistakes that they've made. I see great things that they made, and I emulate behind that of what to do and what not to do. Again, I'm not the type of person who, got to learn on my own. I'll watch from other people, and I'm a lifelong learner. Oh, y'all, thank you for saying hello to my crazy husband. Once you know who you are, the rest will take care of itself. Yeah, and that's why that's the biggest piece. Thank you so much for that, Wallace. That's the biggest piece, because you have to know who you are. You have to believe in yourself. And once you get that part taken care of, definitely the rest is going to fall into place. Because again, there are people, hey, how are you doing, Malcolm? Thank you so much for tuning in. There are people who, again, may see something in you, but as soon as you open your mouth or the way that you carry yourself, they can feel like, well, I must have made a mistake, because clearly they're not confident. Clearly they don't believe in themselves. So it's like, don't do things to undercut yourself. And we find it so easy a lot of times to be our own biggest critic, but it's so hard for us to be our own biggest cheerleader. And so the question that we have to answer is, who do you think you are? And most of the time when we hear that question, it's like in a negative connotation coming from somebody else, like, who do you think you are? No, It's truly, who do you think you are? Because who you think you are and who you believe you are, that's how you're going to show up. It doesn't matter how much somebody else tells you you're great or how much somebody tells you that you're the worst person in the world. Only what you believe is going to indicate how you show up and what you achieve in life. And so you have to get real clear about that. And you have to get clear about the conversations that are going on in your mind. That are these conversations coming from me? Or are these conversations based on what other people have told me? And once you get clear about that and you start operating from there and talking to yourself based on what you truly believe, then the way you show up is going to change. And then you're going to realize that how much you have let other people dictate the trajectory of your life based on Wallace. Y'all hear him? I think he watching basketball. We live in here, Dr. Hall. He in there watching basketball, hollering, just almost scared me. And then I realized what he was doing. But how we speak to ourselves and what we think about ourselves. And you will be surprised how long you have been living under other people's thoughts and ideas of you. And sometimes the people who are the closest to us, how many of us have heard people say or have people say, "Hey, Tampa, how are you?" Have had people say, "I know you better than you know yourself." That's a manipulation tactic, because that is impossible. There is no way that you can know me better than I know myself. And so many of us are struggling to really know ourselves. How has somebody else put that much time and work into getting to know you? And they know you better than you know yourself. But again, it's a manipulation tactic. That's a way for them to try to continue to control your thoughts and how you think. Or when people say, "I knew you was going to do that." How you know I was going to do that? I ain't even know I was going to do that. And another thing that I stole from my husband, we don't always even know what we're going to do, or we sometimes surprise ourselves. How many times do you find yourself in a situation, to quote Wallace, where you say, "I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I did that." And then the crazy part about it is a few months later might go by and then we're saying, "I can't believe I did that again." So therefore, if we can surprise our own selves and we do not always know that what we're going to do, how can somebody else know us better than we know ourselves? So again, be careful of people who use, and I'm moving his hair around all the time. Y'all know I'm a woman of a certain age. It's getting hot. But people use certain things again as manipulation tactics because they know how powerful their words are and they know how much we respect the relationship. And so when you're going down this journey of self-love, when you're going down this journey of overcoming self-doubt, you're going down this journey of overcoming imposter syndrome, be careful who you let speak into your life and whose words you believe. And make sure that the voice in your head telling you who you are is always louder than their voice. Let me see. No, Tampa said, what she say? "I'm doing fine, laying here listening to the thunder, lightning, and rain. Sirens was going off." Oh, girl, be careful. Yeah, it started thundering here too, and pouring down rain out of the clear blue. There's a thunderstorm warning, I think, until like tomorrow morning. But it's nothing is going on now. But you know, Texas weather is crazy. But be careful, but enjoy that. I love listening to the rain. God is the only one not surprised. Right. There is nobody who knows us better than him, including ourselves. Yeah. He's the one who could say, "I knew you was going to do that." You're absolutely right. So true. Yeah. So we have to be careful. But, you know, sometimes, again, people have their manipulation tactics and you believe because of who they are and their relationship to you and how long you've known them, you start to doubt yourself, right? You're like, well, if they're saying that, then maybe it is true. Or maybe, you know, I'm not capable, or maybe I am that kind of person. But again, be careful, you know, of people who always want to say something negative about you just because you're not doing what they want you to do. Be careful, because those are manipulation tactics. Let me see. What else did I want to talk to y'all about? I am so far behind on these slides. Da, 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 da. No, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. So the thing is, once we have gone through all these steps, once we have started talking kind to ourselves, looking ourselves in the mirror, then we have to be intentional about sticking to it. Because just like with anything else, whether we're, trying to go on a diet to lose weight, whatever, we may have setbacks. And sometimes things, even though we're doing something that's good for us, change hurts. Change is not always easy. It's just like when you're trying to get into shape, you're lifting weights, you're out there running, walking, doing all the things, your muscles get sore. But guess what? You have to work through the pain, because it's in that pain, it's in that change where growth is going to happen. If you stop working out as soon as you get sore, then you're not going to be able to get the results you want. And it's the same when we're talking about this journey to self-love, this journey to self-growth, this journey to conquer imposter syndrome. Normally, when things start to hurt, and things may start to hurt because we're changing relationships, we're changing how we move, we're changing our circumstances, and sometimes that's uncomfortable, but it's in the discomfort where change is going to happen. It's on the other side of that pain. It's just like being sick and needing a surgery. Yeah, the surgery is not going to be comfortable. There's going to be some pain. There's going to be some recovery time. But on the other end of that, you're going to feel better. So you have to be able to push through the pain. And again, you may have some setbacks. I talk about, people and their teeth. If you're someone who maybe had crooked teeth when you were younger and you had to get braces, that whole process can sometimes be painful because you're forcing the teeth, even though it's a better position for them, that's just not where they're used to being. So you're having to force them into that new position that's going to be better for you, that's going to be more aesthetically pleasing, that's going to help you chew your food better, that's just going to help you overall with your dentistry and your dental hygiene. But there's going to be some pain involved. And then even after you're done with that process, guess what? Those teeth are still going to be fighting to go back to where they were most comfortable, even though that might not be what's best for you. So in order to keep them in place, you're going to have to wear a retainer to keep them in place. And it's the same thing as you're going through this process. You're going to have to push through the pain. And then every once in a while, something's going to trigger you and something's going to challenge you. And it's going to try to force you to go back to that old way of thinking. And that retainer is going to be that positive self-talk, that looking yourself in the mirror, telling yourself who you are. Let's see. I have Joe said, some people have fear of embarrassment or ridicule and they get trapped and never experience anything beyond those fears. Absolutely. And that's the thing. And normally, or I'm not even going to say normally, anytime someone causes you to feel embarrassed or ridicules you for making a mistake, for failing when you're trying something new, that's not the person who's for you anyway. They're not on your team. Just because there are people in your circle, that doesn't mean that those people are on your side. There's a difference of being in your circle and being on your side. Sometimes people just end up in our circle because they've always been there. And so anybody who tries to make you feel less than for trying something new, doing something different. Like when I first left my hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, there were so many people who were like, well, you're going to be right back. Well, that's fine. At least I have somewhere to come back to. But guess what? I'm still going to go. Or people who said, well, what if you lose your job when you up there? I just won't have a job. I can lose my job while I'm here. And those people, they're not for you. They may be in your circle, but they're not on your side. But you're absolutely right about that. Okay, so Nikki was just agreeing with Geeky Girl. And Tampa said, I've doubted myself a long time. I'll be 48 in May. I've put everyone else's needs before mine. And now I'm trying to figure out what I want and need. Yeah, and you deserve that. And take that time to figure that out. I tell people, and I probably said it to y'all before too, so forgive me when I repeat stuff, because literally, y'all, this is what I do for a living. I talk to people every day, all day. So I can't always remember what I told one group versus another group. But if you're ever in doubt about who you are and what you're passionate about, allow yourself to go back to that much younger, less afraid, not jaded person when you were maybe only 11, 12 years old before life started lifing, and remind yourself of what you were passionate about then, what you dreamed of being and what you dreamed of doing. And maybe it's not going to be exactly that, because maybe you dreamt of being a princess, and you can't just decide to be a princess. But I told one of my life coaching clients, when she said, well, girl, I wanted to be a princess when I was younger, so I can't just be a princess. But what about being a princess attracted you? What was it? What did you like about being a princess? Well, I like the jewelry and the tiara and the fancy clothes and this and that. And so after going through and mulling through all that, what we decided and what she did was she was going to open an evening gown type of boutique where she was going to sell the fancy prom dresses and the tiaras and things like that. So as silly as it may sound, I'm telling you, when you allow yourself to go back to that little girl or that little boy or whatever, and just remember what your heart's desire was and what you were passionate about, somewhere in there, that innocence and just that feeling like you could conquer the world, somewhere in there is going to remind you of who you truly are and who you were meant to be. Because I believe a lot of us know early on what we were meant to be, but then life starts to happen and it makes us doubt those things, or circumstances happen and we just can't achieve those things. But as soon as you get the opportunity, go back to that, because that is who you truly meant to be. And as far as giving to everyone else, a lot of us have become victim to that. And yes, I do call it victim, because people will drain you and take every ounce and bit of energy from you and have you doing all the things and not giving a crap, excuse my language, as to how it's affecting you. The people who need us and pull on, and I said need, let me put need in air quotes, because most of the time they don't even really need us. I'm trying to look at the time to see how long I've had y'all here. So we only got a couple of more minutes. But the people who seem to need us all the time usually are the people who are really taking care of themselves as well. You can't get them not to do their self-care. You can't get them to pick up the phone when they don't feel like it. You can't get them to run and do an errand for you if it's going to inconvenience you. But they will drain you of every bit of your energy and every bit of your time, and then try to guilt you and manipulate you as soon as you say no. But that's okay. They'll get over it. Yes, they will. Users. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yes, I'm trying, Lacey J. I'm trying, but they will, and they don't think about it. And then as soon as you say no, they try to make you feel guilty, but you can't let that guilt work, because guess what? No is a complete sentence. You owe no explanation, and they'll get over it. And what they'll do is they'll just move on to somebody else to victimize, because that's all they're in it for anyway. And here we were feeling bad and don't want to say no and don't want to hurt anybody else's feelings. And, well, what if they really need me? They're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. You cannot be everybody's solution. You cannot be the answer to everybody else's problems. And again, you're really not doing any good if you are causing a detriment to yourself. Yeah, they try to make you feel like you're the bad person. And again, you're not. You have a life, you have a family, you have a job, you have a business, you have your own mental health. You need your own mental health time. You cannot be everybody's solution. Absolutely. Let me see. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. I think I did pretty good with the comments today, y'all. Yes, I did. All right. Well, y'all, I hope that something that I said has impacted some of you today. I hope that you're going to start your self-care journey. I hope that you're going to stop being in this imposter syndrome. Remember, you are worthy. Remember that you are worth it. You are capable. You deserve the praise. Nothing that you do is little. Nothing that you do is just. It's major. And don't strive for perfection. Just strive for excellence. And being excellent just means giving everything you do all you have, giving it your best. Don't compare yourself to anyone but who you were yesterday. All you ever want to be is better than you were yesterday. And that can be baby steps, even if that better means just getting yourself up out of bed. Because like I said, sometimes that in and of itself is a challenge. Remember to set your intention for the day. Every single day, tell yourself that it's going to be a good day. Tell yourself that you are capable to handle any challenge that you may face. Tell yourself that you are worthy. Tell yourself that you're beautiful. Tell yourself that you are kind. Set those intentions, and believe me, it'll make a difference. But it takes time. It takes time. Those negative thoughts didn't happen overnight. There were years and years of planting those seeds. So don't give up on yourself. Don't feel like, oh, well, I looked at myself in the mirror for 60 seconds and I talked good to myself and I still feel bad. No, give it time, because your worth, your time. You've been giving your time, your talent, your intention to so many people for so long, everybody but you. If they're worth your time, you're definitely worth your time. You're worth your kind words. You're worth your kind thoughts. You are worth your grace. You're worth your forgiveness. Stop looking at failures as the end and start embracing them and looking at them as just another stepping stone in your journey. Let me read these last comments. Oh, thank you, Lisa. I appreciate you. And you are welcome, Joe. Thank you for being here. Oh, thank you, Deborah. Thank you. I really appreciate y'all so much. Y'all definitely help me to keep my cup overflowing. A lot of these sessions, like I said, even though I've done the work, some days I'm talking to myself too. And that's why I want to already forewarn y'all to not give up, because every once in a while we slip back into those old thoughts. And that includes me as well. It has been a journey for me and I pretty much got it. But you know, every once in a while it gets you. So I just want y'all to keep it up, keep believing in yourself, keep being good to yourself. What did Wallace say? Fresh and an awesome talk. Okay, we're going to ignore him. Oh, you are welcome. You're welcome, Nikki. You're welcome. But keep believing in yourself. And y'all know the drill. I love and appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate you for showing up week after week, day after day. I know that you don't have to be here, so it does my heart good to see y'all every time. And always be kind and love one another, but never forget to live your life. L-Y-F-E. Love yourself first explicitly. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Living like a Stae. Hey, hey. 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 Love yourself first explicitly. You always took yourself to move with that energy. Empower your self-esteem. Self-love is king. That's the only way to win. That's how you empower your dreams. Living like a Stae. Hey, hey.